Most people get a raise during their annual performance review. I got a diamond ring, a real one, 2 carats. It was sitting in a black velvet box next to my performance report when I walked into my boss's office. At first, I thought maybe he'd left it there by accident. Then he pushed it toward me and said, "The senior partner position is yours, Ava. But first, I need you to marry my son." I laughed. He didn't. That's when I realized my life had just become a nightmare. For context, I'd spent 8 years at the firm, 8 years of 74 weeks, 8 years of canceled vacations, 8 years of being the first person in the office and the last one to leave. I wasn't born into money. I wasn't connected. Everything I built came from pure obsession. And now, at 32, I was finally one step away from becoming senior partner. The promotion would triple my income. It would put me in charge of my own division. It would completely change my life, which is why I couldn't simply stand up and walk out when my boss made his offer. Not immediately. My boss, Richard Hawthorne, owned almost 40% of the company. What Richard wanted usually happened. People joked that he treated the firm like a kingdom. The problem was that it wasn't really a joke. "Excuse me," I finally asked. Richard folded his hands. "My son needs a wife." I stared at him. "My son needs a wife." Like he was discussing office furniture. Not a human being. Not me. A wife. I thought maybe he was joking, or testing me, or suffering some kind of breakdown. Then he opened a folder. Inside were legal documents, prenuptial agreements, trust paperwork, marriage contracts, actual marriage contracts, prepared in advance, prepared for me. My stomach twisted. "You planned this?" "I've been planning it for 2 years. 2 years. He'd been planning my future without my knowledge for 2 years. Then he showed me a photo. His son, Ethan Hawthorne, 30. 4 years old. Never worked a day in his life. Still lived in Richard's mansion. Spent most of his time playing online games and investing family money. The office called him the prince. Usually behind his back. I don't understand. Richard sighed. "My son isn't capable of running what I've built." "Then don't give him the company. It's not that simple." And that's when he explained the real problem. The Hawthorne family trust contained nearly $200 million. But there was a condition. A bizarre condition. One written by Richard's grandfather decades earlier. The controlling shares of the company could only transfer to a married heir. No spouse. No inheritance. No control. Apparently, Ethan had already destroyed 3 engagements. One fiancé left him. One cheated on him. And the third disappeared after 2 months and never spoke to the family again. "So you want me to save your inheritance?" "I want you to save my company." I should have left. I know that now. But Richard knew exactly how to manipulate people, especially ambitious people. The next day, I discovered something disturbing. My promotion announcement had already been drafted. My office assignment had already been prepared. The company had already started transitioning clients to me. Richard wasn't making an offer. He was creating pressure. Pressure to make me believe I was too invested to walk away. Then things got stranger. Because Ethan started showing up everywhere. At company dinners, charity events, business conferences. At first, he seemed exactly like everyone described. Awkward, sheltered, socially clueless. The kind of rich guy who'd never heard the word no. Then he said something unexpected. "I heard Dad finally asked you." I nearly choked on my drink. "You know?" He laughed. Unfortunately, that conversation changed everything. Because Ethan looked exhausted. Not excited. Not hopeful. Exhausted. Like someone serving a prison sentence. "My father thinks marriage fixes everything," he said. "What do you think?" "I think my father destroys everything he touches." That wasn't the answer I expected. Over the next few weeks, I learned things. Things Richard never intended me to know. Ethan wasn't lazy. He'd actually tried working in the company. Richard publicly humiliated him, again and again, until he quit. He tried starting his own business. Richard sabotaged the funding. He tried moving out. Richard threatened to cut him off completely. The basement, dwelling son narrative wasn't entirely true. Richard had spent years making sure Ethan failed, then blamed him for failing. And suddenly, the entire situation looked different. One night, Ethan invited me to see something. A hidden storage room beneath the mansion. Inside were decades of documents, financial records, family correspondence, trust agreements, and one particular folder, marked with my name. My blood ran cold. Richard had investigated me years earlier. My finances, my relationships, my family history, everything. I wasn't chosen because I was the best candidate. I was chosen because I was controllable, or at least he thought I was. Then we discovered the real reason, the terrifying reason, the trust condition requiring marriage. It was fake, or at least partially fake. Richard had lied. The inheritance didn't require Ethan to marry. It required Richard to retire before ownership transferred. And Richard never wanted to retire, ever. The marriage scheme wasn't about helping Ethan. It wasn't about saving the company. It wasn't about inheritance. It was about control. If Ethan married me, Richard could keep running everything while using me as leverage against his son, a permanent corporate hostage. I finally understood. The marriage wasn't the goal. The trap was. So Ethan and I made a plan. At the next board meeting, Richard proudly announced my promotion. Then he announced our engagement. Without asking either of us, the room erupted into applause. Then Ethan stood up. "That's strange." Richard smiled. "What is?" Ethan connected his laptop to the projector and displayed every document, every lie, every hidden investigation, every fraudulent trust interpretation, every piece of evidence. The room went silent. For the first time in my career, I saw Richard Hawthorne genuinely afraid. Board members started reading. Questions started flying. Lawyers started whispering. Directors started leaving the room to make phone calls. Within 48 hours, Richard was forced to resign. Within 2 weeks, federal investigators became involved. Within 6 months, the company had entirely new leadership. And me, I got the senior partner position anyway. No marriage required. No ring required. No billionaire manipulation required. As for Ethan, we stayed friends, nothing more, despite what everyone expected. Because after everything we'd survived, we both needed freedom more than romance. The last time I saw Richard was during a court hearing. He looked at me with absolute hatred. "You ruined my family." I smiled. "No," I said. "I just stopped you from ruining everyone else's."